Well, welcome. Special welcome to our admitted students, our parents and supporters, and our distinguished guests who will be sharing their views on Cal Poly with you today. My name is Kenneth Oliver, and I am the Regional Admissions Manager at Cal Poly, representing the Southwest and Northeast. I have been with Cal Poly for about 2 years now. Well, it'll be 2 years in July. And I always like to say that the greatest thing about my job is I really feel like a matchmaker, and I get the opportunity to connect great students with a great university. When I left my previous school, one of the things that was important to me, and it's always been important to me in admissions, you'll find some people look at admissions as like a sales job, and admissions and the college process is not a sales job. And I never wanted to feel that way. And the great thing about Cal Poly is that I never do. It is a great institution, and I'm so happy to represent it. I'll tell you a quick story before I go into the other things. It's just a little anecdotal story. So I was speaking with one of my colleagues from another university a couple of days ago. And one of the things he said to me was, he had called me a few days prior. He said, I called you because I was fielding calls to some of our accepted students. And a lot of them were telling me that they were going to go to Cal Poly. And so I ended the conversation by saying, hopefully we won't take too many of your kids. And he said, well, this is a competition. So I'm hoping that we get all of your kids. So I'm not playing nice. So I told him it's easy to play nice when you know you're going to win. So anyway, welcome. Congratulations to all the students. And I think that what you're going to see today, the reason why I could make a comment like that, that is so and such with such confidence, I think that'll be illustrated throughout the day. Again, congratulations. Again, I want to thank the parents and supporters for supporting your students through this process. This is not a process that we do alone as applicants. I've been an applicant many times, so I definitely understand the importance of those supporters. And to all of our admitted students, you are among a distinguished few. We had over 65,000 applications this year, so you should definitely pat yourself on the back. Congratulations on a job well done. So first, I do want to acknowledge, and I'm not going to do the whole trite, we are in unprecedented times, because I know that we've all heard that way too much. I'm going to say that we are in trying times, but we are enduring, we have endured, and we're moving out of it. So that's what I will say. We do want you to, I want to thank you for taking the time today and share just about an hour with us to talk about the great things that Cal Poly has to offer. I just want to give a couple of reminders about the webinar, the Zoom webinar. So participants, just know that you cannot unmute yourselves nor turn on your cameras. And also be sure to use the Q&A tool at the bottom of your screen to ask any questions that you might have of our staff, also as well as our current students and alums. The chat will be off for the presentation, and you'll find resources linked in the chat so that you'll be able to click on those, and that'll take you to some wonderful resources as admitted students. So just so you understand, so this program is our Northeast Southwest accepted students event. And the purpose of this event is to give families, accepted students, the opportunity to get to know Cal Poly better. I'm sure many of you have been on our website, you've read a lot about the school, you watched a lot of videos, but this really gives you the opportunity to speak with students, alums, staff, just to really get that insider information about Cal Poly and what your life would be as a student at Cal Poly. So forgive me, I'm going to be looking at a couple of notes so I stay on task here today. So also during this event, we're going to reiterate some important dates that you should keep in mind, including our SRI date, your date, basically the date where you know the deadline for you to notify us that you'll be attending, deadlines for housing and things of that matter. So you probably applied to Cal Poly. Well, you probably applied to Cal Poly because we're 12 minutes from the beach and it's like going to school in paradise. But no, actually, you probably applied to Cal Poly because of our academic excellence, but more importantly, our Ready Day One and Learn by Doing philosophy, which will allow you to start working in your major day one as freshmen. So we have some Cal Poly proud individuals and a Cal Poly proud baby who are here with us today. And they'll all you'll have a chance to speak and tell us about their experiences at Cal Poly. So briefly, I just want to talk a little bit about Cal Poly and well, mostly San Luis Obispo. So you might already know this, but I'm just going to review this. So Cal Poly is located in the beautiful San Luis Obispo, California, which is on the central coast of California. We're midway between Los Angeles and San Francisco, about 3 hours north and south of each. We're 10 minutes from several beaches, and it is like going to school in paradise. It is a college town. So just think about San Luis Obispo has about 44,000 residents, 22,000 of which are Cal Poly students. There is another smaller community college in town. So you really do get a small town college feel, but it's also a very coastal environment. It's very laid back. No one's rushing. No one is beeping horns. So I always say that it is really a great place to grow up as a student. So here is a sneak peek of where you might be calling home. Well, you'll see it behind me, but we'll show another little video that'll give you more insight. All right, so now I'm going to do a brief introduction of our panelists today before we move into our keynote speakers. So we have with us today Christine Theodoropoulos, who is a Dean of the College of Architecture and Environmental Design. We have Keith Humphrey, who is the Vice President of Student Affairs. And we also have Cal Poly alums Kyle and Leilani Struthers, class of 2011, who have just introduced to the world our newest and greatest Cal Poly baby. And we have Nicole Smith from class of 2016. And also we have our illustrious and the most amazing current students that this country has to offer. We have Bree Zadar, and we also have, Quinn. Well, I'll let you, I don't want to mispronounce your name, but Quinn, I'm going to say Aikman.
Aikman. It's a pretty
See,
common
I think I was trying to be too fancy. All right, Quinn Aikman. So we're going to start with Christine. Please introduce yourself and tell the world about that.
Greetings, good afternoon, and congratulations for being admitted to Cal Poly to our students. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Christine Theodoropoulos. I'm the Dean of the College of Architecture and Environmental Design. It's one of 6 colleges at Cal Poly. And along with the other deans at Cal Poly, we are the people who kind of oversee academics. And so I wanted to just share a little bit about what that looks like. When I meet with prospective students, there are basically 3 things I want them to understand about Cal Poly that I think makes us unique and is the reason that we are so strong academically. One is that the student is the most important person on campus. The other is our long tradition of teaching through learn by doing. And then the third is our commitment to ensuring that every graduate is career ready. So I'm going to just elaborate a little bit on each of those areas. Our community is focused on excellence of undergraduate education. We are primarily an undergraduate university, we do have some graduate programs, some master's programs, but what the undergraduate experience will be is an experience where students have direct relationships with Cal Poly's professors. We keep class sizes small, and our faculty have the opportunity to track students' individual achievements and progress. And so you will have a much closer relationship with faculty at Cal Poly than you might experience at other universities with a similar academic standing. Our teachers are also very much involved, not only with students in the classroom, but in all kinds of co-curricular activities. There are many clubs and other associated out of classroom activities, but are very much involved with the faculty. And so again, this is our attention to students. Undergraduate students have opportunities to practice learning with faculty outside the classroom, and this includes opportunities to be research assistants, opportunities to collaborate with faculty on design and community service. So that relationship is very, very deep. If you ask people on the Cal Poly campus what is learned by doing, you're going to get a lot of different answers. I think it manifests itself in different ways for different people. I like to think of it as diving in the middle of your subject. Instead of first spending a lot of time learning about theory, and then when you've learned it, applying it to practice. At Cal Poly, what we do is we just kind of jump in and start practicing. And in the process of the practice, we start to ask the questions of what do I need to know to do this? That practice can take many forms. In the sciences, it might be something that happens more in a laboratory. In the fields of design, it might be something that happens in the studio. Many students are involved in practicing, out in the community. But the key concept is that learning is created through application. And it can be very challenging because we often ask students to do something they don't know how to do. But that's kind of the fun of it, because you figure out by trying. And we often learn as much from how we got it right as how we get it wrong. And so that's the essence of what it is. In order to do it well, you do have to have that close student-teacher relationship. But I think what you find with Learn by Doing also is how much peer teaching and learning goes on, because the Learn by Doing is something we do as a community. And so students are collaborating with each other. Another very important aspect of Cal Poly's mission is to make sure that every graduate is career ready. We admit students directly to the major, as those of you who have applied know. And that is a very important ingredient, because what happens is students are exposed to their career interests from the very beginning of their time at Cal Poly. And even though we do have students who choose to change majors after they come here, they do that in a very well-informed way, because they have already become part of a community of students who are all sharing that beginnings in a discipline that is going to lead to certain career paths. We have very strong partnerships with employers, and those employers come from government agencies, industries, entrepreneurs, in a way that we create a bridge between school and career that is highly collaborative. And that means that employers are on campus, they're in the classroom, we are bringing students to visit them in their settings. Students have access to internships, they have access to mentors. There's a lot of engagement in the field that is maybe kind of an extension of the classroom experience that connects students with the kinds of jobs they might be interested in taking on. And we have an amazing track record. Our students have so many open doors to them. We have large numbers of employers coming to campus through our career fairs, but also even in our classrooms. And so students who want these opportunities will find them at Cal Poly, and we will help match their interests with careers. There's so much more to say, but I want to, set aside the time for other speakers. Congratulations again, and I look forward to seeing you at Cal Poly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And next we'll have Keith Humphrey, who again is the Vice President of Student Affairs.
Thanks, Kenneth. Good morning or good afternoon, everybody, depending on where you are in the world on this Zoom with us this morning. Like Kenneth said, my name is Dr. Keith Humphrey. I use pronouns he, him, his. It's my pleasure to be with you to talk to you more about student life at Cal Poly. But first, I just want to say congratulations to all of the students and your supporters on your admission to Cal Poly. It is a fantastic achievement that I know you all have worked really hard for the past 18 years. So something to definitely be very proud of. You heard some great things from Dean Theodoropoulos about Learn by Doing and how that approach really helps students to achieve long-term success, both on campus and well into their professional careers. My job and the job of my team is to really match the fullness of that Learn by Doing experience outside the classroom so that you can become global citizens, strong, productive community members, and fully maximize your leadership that our society is desperately looking for in its future generation. We do that in so many ways. We start by creating a sense of community, sense of belonging, and cultural competency in our students, and we try to center issues of student diversity and belonging across all of our programs and services for our students. But especially in our cross-cultural centers, in our gender equity centers, in programs that really help students from a wide variety of identities really live out and feel their purpose and connection to our community at Cal Poly. Also starts with our university housing community. The buildings behind me are some of our newest residence halls on campus, our Yaki Tutu first-year student housing complex, and we plan to build more in our housing community. You get to live in a living learning community based on your interests and live with students who have similar interests to you, whether that's by academic major or by interest and affiliation of something like ecological preservation or community service, something of that nature. Our residential experience is core to the Cal Poly experience. That's why we require our first-year students to live on campus. And it's why we require many students in 3 colleges right now in architecture, in agriculture, and in engineering to live on campus their second year, as we're working towards having all of our second-year students live on campus at Cal Poly. We have fantastic out-of-class experiences for you to build your connections with your fellow students. That includes over 300 clubs and organizations, fraternity and sorority life, where about 14% of our students participate. And you can check out what student life is like right now. You can download the Cal Poly Now app and see about 500 current virtual events that we're offering every week for our students. And you can just imagine what those virtual events will be like when we get back into in-person activities in our fall quarter. We also focus on creating that next set of leaders that I said our society desperately needs through providing you really strong civic engagement opportunities through our Center for Service and Action that provides lots of local and national and international service learning opportunities for our students. Our Center for Leadership helps every student, whether you hold a positional leadership position or not, grow your personal and professional leadership skills. We know our students want to advance through their careers quickly, and this really helps our students match the quality of that academic experience and the power of what you learn in the classroom with your leadership to advance quickly. You can be involved in our fantastic ASI student government, as I think you'll hear from one of our amazing current students about. And it all starts with the connections and foundations that we offer you through our orientation programs, our world famous Week of Welcome programs, and things of that nature. Now, you're probably also really thinking critically about health and well-being right now, and that should be top of mind and how a university responds and creates the conditions for our students to be healthy and successful, because without strong health and well-being programs, even before the pandemic, you can't be successful in a learn by doing way. We have a very vibrant health and counseling program on campus. We see over 30,000 student visits at our health center, almost 7,000 visits in our counseling center. We have the highest student to counselor ratio in the California State University system. We're very, very proud of that. And some provides access for our students to really help navigate all of the social emotional things that come up in the college experience. We have been primarily focused, though, this year on our response to COVID, as you can imagine, and Cal Poly has performed over 130,000 COVID tests for our students, faculty, and staff since September, really making sure that the individuals that are on our campus, and we have thousands of students living in our residence halls and attending in-person classes this quarter, make sure that they're healthy and safe. We have the processes to quickly isolate students who become positive so that they don't spread that infection to others, and take care of themselves so that they can get healthy and quickly and safely. We're proud that all of those efforts really have not resulted in a single positive case coming from an in-person class experience or in any of our staff. For example, our medical and health staff that have been on site every day since the university pivoted on March 13th of 2020. So we know that what we're doing in the health and well-being realm really helps our students and everyone stay safe. That includes health and well-being, includes recreational sports. Hopefully you had a chance to check out or will check out our fantastic rec center, our club sports, which are returning to activity at the start of our spring quarter here in 2 weeks as public health conditions are improving greatly in San Luis Obispo. Our Poly Escapes program, where you can rent all sorts of outdoor equipment and go camping in the mountains outside or surfing at one of the beaches that Kenneth mentioned that are close by. All of this concludes with our efforts to make sure that you are ready day one to step out and lead in your profession of choice. And our career services team works closely with our colleges to make sure that that happens. We don't wait until the end of the experience to make sure that you are getting that career experience. We have a team of career counselors that are specifically dedicated to first-year students, and every first-year student has a number of structured interactions with our career counselors. We have more than 12,000 employers that participate with us at our career fairs, and Christine mentioned those career fairs. And one of the strong points about Cal Poly is that whenever the economy drops or goes into some form of less than robust activity, hiring of college students does tend to dip, and employers have to make choices about the universities where they go to recruit students. We're very proud that both in the current pandemic and in the economic recession that our country experienced in 2008, 2009, employer interest and focus on our students did not drop. And that is really a signal of the quality of the academic experience that will be receiving in the classroom. No matter what the conditions are economically in our country, employers want to hire Cal Poly students. That results with 93% of our students are directly engaged in some form of work or graduate school that is related to their major. So it's a direct path, and 4 out of 5 of our graduates had a job 6 months prior to graduation. And 100% who wanted to be employed were employed within 9 months of graduation, a really important thing for our parents and supporters to know that the investment you're going to make is going to result in a fantastic job that starts your career. So our approach is really to provide you with the support so that you can be healthy, happy, safe, successful Cal Poly graduates that are out leading in our society. So I'm going to stop there and just finish where I started and say congratulations again on your admission to Cal Poly. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you on campus this summer at Slow Days and with us full-time in the fall. Kenneth, back to you.
Thank you so much, Keith. That was such great information. I just wanted to piggyback off of some of the things that he said, especially with regard to our learn by doing philosophy. One of the things that I've noticed during recruitment is I'm starting to see this notion of learn by doing being more popularized. I hear more and more schools referring to learn by doing, and but what I really just want to point out to you that we have been doing learn by doing since 1901. So this is not a fad for Cal Poly. This is a commitment. It is a foundation of what we do. And just to go back to what Keith said, it's the reason why we can go through recessions, economic recessions, we can go through pandemics, but our students always come out in the forefront in terms of companies because people recognize that Cal Poly's learn by doing philosophy is not a fad, but again, the foundation of what we do. Okay, I want to move on to our Cal Poly alums. So they can give you some insight as to what life might be like after Cal Poly. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce them again. Let's start with Kyle and Leilani Struthers, who are the class of 2011.
Hey y'all, thanks Kenneth. So I'm Leilani Struthers and it's my husband, Kyle Struthers. We actually met at Cal Poly. Was not the original plan, but here we are. I graduated in 2011 with a business administration major, and I don't believe my concentration exists anymore, but it was international business. And then I was able to tack on a Spanish and French minor because I just didn't want to leave. So part of my experience in Cal Poly involved, again, getting involved in all the student activities. I was involved in several different clubs, as well as a student government organization there, which you'll hopefully learn more about. But again, going back to learn by doing philosophy, the specific curriculum focused on project work, group projects especially, was really helpful for my career. So had a job right out of college. I graduated in 4 years and went into management consulting in San Francisco. And then for the last 6.5 years, we moved to Austin, Texas, where now I work as a manager at Facebook. So I have a lot of credit to give to my experience, both from a student life perspective as well as the education there to Cal Poly, and the success that we've had here so far. So I'm happy to also answer any questions that y'all have, and thank you. So I'll pass it over to my roommate.
Thanks, Rumi. Hey, my name is Kyle. I also graduated at the same time as Leilani. I actually came to Cal Poly from out of state. And I did the 4+1 program for biomedical engineering. So I graduated with a bachelor's and master's degree in 5 years, had a job before I graduated. And yeah, it was pretty great. I was able to meet a bunch of people at Cal Poly, met this one girl, she was pretty cool, but it just opened up so many opportunities for me. Learned to surf while going to Cal Poly. I can't do a lot of surfing in Arizona, so that was nice. But it really did prepare me for my career that I have today. I got a job working at a medical device company after graduating, and now I work as a software product manager for Under Armour, working on our connected shoe. So, and sorry about the noise of this small child in the background. But it's been, I have Cal Poly very much to thank for where I am today.
Great, thank you so much. And next we have Nicole Smith, class of 2016.
Hi, y'all. My name is Nicole Smith. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I graduated from Cal Poly in 2016 with a Bachelor's of Science in Graphic Communication, which is in the College of Liberal Arts. When I went to college, I distinctly remember my dad finishing, helping me move into the dorms. They were about to leave, and he said, "You know what? You get 4 years. I hope you make the most of it." And that's what I set out to do. I got really involved in my major. My major is it was about 100 to 200 people. So when you're, in the same building, you're taking classes from your very first day, like my first day of school. I had a class in my major. I got to meet most of the people that I ended up graduating with. And I really hit the ground day one, hit the ground running and got involved. And I was involved in Greek life. I was involved with, we have something called polyreps, which are our student tour guides. Kyle was also one, and I think there's probably another one on this call as well. And I also got involved in our student orientation programs. I really tried to dip my toe in as many opportunities as possible. One of my favorite experiences at Cal Poly was that I actually got to work in my department where I ran a small business of 13 people. It was a printing business which related directly to my major. So I got paid to get experience in my major. And then I got to use it when I was applying for jobs. And I secured a job 9 months before I graduated. I worked for a printing company in sales, which I think gave me a lot of really great experience for the future of my career. And now I work at a startup based in Austin, and I'm a project manager on a product team. So I definitely maybe don't use my major the same way as I once did, but all the skills that I learned at Cal Poly and that I learned in my first job has taken me into what I do today. And yeah, I'm so excited that y'all have been accepted, and hope that you attend in the fall.
Great, thank you so much, Nicole. So next we're going to move on to our current students. We'll start with Bree Zadar.
What is up, y'all? My name is Bree Zidar. I use she and her pronouns, and I am a fourth-year mechanical engineering major here at Cal Poly. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, so I'm from out of state and made my way out to California, and I've been loving it ever since. If I could just echo everyone's comments on how important Learn by Doing has been in my last 4 years. It is truly something so unique to Cal Poly and something absolutely amazing. And as I'm getting closer and closer to graduating and looking into the process of getting a full-time job, I cannot even begin to say how lucky I am to be able to call on experiences I've had in the classroom at Cal Poly when they ask you questions about group work or designing or building certain things in interviews. And it's so easy to think back to all the classes I've taken here at Cal Poly. A little bit of what I'm involved in outside of just school is I'm a poly rep. So like Nicole and Kyle, and I think a few others on the call, I'm a university ambassador, which normally means I would be giving tours of Cal Poly if y'all came to visit. Maybe some of you got the chance to have an in-person tour. But it also is a really cool opportunity to get to represent and talk about Cal Poly kind of freely on my own, which is super cool. I also was involved in ASI student government. So kind of similar to student government, maybe at like your high school, but it's pretty involved. They deal with a huge budget every year and get to kind of throw events for all 22,000 students at Cal Poly. So it's been really amazing to get involved in many different facets of the university. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. And I'm sure I'll be talking to y'all a little bit more in the Q&A section.
Great, thank you so much, Bree. And last but not least, we have Quinn Aikman.
Hello, everyone. My name is Quinn Aikman. My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and she, her, hers. And I am a second-year agriculture and environmental plant science student. We oftentimes shorten that to AEPS, so that's what's in my name. And I have a concentration in environmental horticulture. So just to plug a little bit, my experience at Cal Poly, especially in my particular major, has largely been online as of right now. And what I've really been finding in my Learn by Doing experiences is the facilities that are available for plant science majors on campus have been so helpful to me. I've been doing some volunteering at our horticulture unit, which is something that is so amazing to be able to do right now, to be able to go and work with these plants that I will hopefully one day be working with in my career, and to be meeting some of our faculty and fellow students that are in my major, and also getting familiar with the other volunteering opportunities that are available on campus who are for students who are trying to get some learn by doing going outside of the classroom as well. For what I'm involved in outside of class, I am a polyrep as well, a university ambassador. Bree went into that a second ago. I love talking about Cal Poly. I love being able to talk to all of you prospective students. I'm also involved in the Cal Poly Rose Float, which is what I'm repping right here on my shirt. It's inverted. But the Cal Poly Rose Float is a really awesome thing that I like to plug when I talk to prospective students, because it's a really unique thing for Learn by Doing and for the Cal Poly University system. We build a big parade float that goes down in Pasadena for the Rose Parade every year on January 1st. And the Cal Poly universities in San Luis Obispo and Pomona work together to make the only entirely student-built float in the entire parade. It is a really incredible thing that we do here. So when I talk about my Cal Poly experience, I can echo everything that everyone else has said about Learn by Doing in the classroom and all of these in-classroom opportunities. But what has really defined my experience at Cal Poly has been what I've gotten involved in outside of the classroom. And it is so easy to get involved at Cal Poly in Rose Float, in Polyreps, in other clubs, other club leaderships, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. All of those opportunities are so available at Cal Poly, and that's part of the reason why I love going to school here, is that you can find a niche of people who love doing the things that you love to do and really have those awesome experiences.
Great, thank you so much, Quinn. So before we go into the question and answer section, I just thought of a couple of things. The first is I really wanted to point out that Cal Poly is unlike many universities in the sense that we are an undergraduate serving university. And so what that means for you as an undergraduate is that you don't ever have to compete against graduate students for the attention of professors or for the usage of equipment. And nor will you be taught by TAs. You'll always be taught by professors. And the student to teacher ratio is about 18:1. And a lot of times when you speak with Cal Poly students, what they'll tell you is that the greatest resource are the professors. And I think that the greatest resource is the students. And one of the great things about our students is that the Cal Poly student, number one, is a focused student. Many of our students, they knew what they wanted to do when they were 8. So that's one thing that distinguishes our students. And the other thing is the Cal Poly student seeks to make an impact on the world day one. You'll hear a lot of times when you speak to students at other universities, they'll say, when I graduate from college, I'm going to do this. When I graduate from college, I'm going to make an impact. Cal Poly students might start making impact on the world, making an impact day one as freshmen. And it really, I can't really speak about our students enough. And it's not just that, for me, in being in admissions, I see it in our students, but it's one of the great things about our job is that I see it in our applicants. Many times, some of you I actually had the opportunity to meet in person. Many of you we've met virtually. But the truth is, I know a Cal Poly student the moment I meet them. They're so obvious because they're so special. So I want to thank our students, alums, and everyone who joined us on the panel today. But I did want to just take a moment to point out how unique and special our students are, and also how unique and special our accepted students are. So I just wanted to put that out there. And now we're going to move to Q&A because I can go on and on and on about our students. Let's see. I did see some. Let's see. Are there any open questions? No. All right. So here's a moment. So if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat in the Q&A. We're going to be looking at that as well. But I'm just going to start with a couple of questions that I have here that I'm sure many of our acceptance students want to know. So the first is, how accessible are professors? And let's ask that of one of our current students. Let's go with Bree.
Hi. So love that question. How accessible are professors? In my experience, they've been extremely accessible. But I think something really special about Cal Poly professors is it's not just that they're accessible during class or during their own office hours. They really do go above and beyond to care about you and your success. A little story for y'all. My freshman year, I came in as a mechanical engineer and truly felt so lost in my major. I had no idea what I was doing and I didn't like cars and I just felt like I wasn't in the right place. And one of my professors was like, hey, you know what? Like, let's meet over coffee. Like, you seem to be pretty stressed out. And he sat down and talked with me for over 3 hours about all the different possibilities of what a mechanical engineer could do. That just because I didn't come in with any prior knowledge about tools or about building things didn't mean that I couldn't succeed as a Cal Poly engineer. And that is 100% the reason I stayed in the major and continued to pursue a degree at Cal Poly. His name is Professor Duvall. He's absolutely amazing. And I actually had the chance to take another class with him just this past year. So professors really do go out of their way to help you out. And I think during COVID has actually been a huge testament to that. There have been so many times where I'll panic email one of my teachers and be like, hi, like, I'm just so lost. And they'll go out of their way to set up a separate Zoom or make a little video helping me through it. So I really do think the professor to student relationship at Cal Poly is something extremely special.
Great, thank you. And on the other side of that coin, Christine, if you would also add some insight to that question, that would be great.
You know, it has a lot to do with what kind of how learn by doing works. It really is, you know, depending on the discipline, it is a very, very hands-on kind of experience. In addition to being a dean, I'm a professor of architecture, but I'm also an architect and an engineer. And so my own life story is about doing the things that I'm now helping students learn how to do. So there's not really I don't know what to call it, like a barrier between students and teachers because of this way that we're all trying to figure out how to get that car to go faster together. It's almost more like the teachers are senior students and the students are maybe more beginning students, and that discovery that happens in the scholarship of the teacher is actually happening in the classroom in real time with the students.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, let's see. The next question. What can you do for fun in San Luis Obispo? Anyone can answer that.
All right, so obviously we touched on this earlier, but a really big part of the culture of Cal Poly is enjoying the outdoors, enjoying the beautiful area of San Luis Obispo, which I can certainly attest to. I personally am a big fan of the hiking trails around the area. I frequently take walks out to Design Village, because I live in the Poly Canyon Village apartments. And so you can just go right off and then go back to Design Village and see what past architecture students have done out there, which I think is really, really cool. That's definitely something you should check out if you find yourself on campus anytime soon. I also have hiked Bishop's Peak, Madonna, and the P, which is also a hiking trail right off the back of campus, which is really, really cool. I know a lot of people who spend a lot of time at the beach. I know that this past September, my roommates and I in our apartment at PCV, it was so hot that we were like, we're going to go to the beach right now. We just jump in the car, drive over the beach and kind of enjoy the water a little bit to get a break from the heat. I personally am also a really big fan of going downtown, spending the day downtown, doing a little bit of shopping, doing a little bit of eating at the restaurants. There's a couple of comic book stores downtown that I'm a big fan of. I'm a little bit of a nerd like that, but I'll go into Captain Nemo's game and comic book store, and I'll just sit and read comic books and hang out there for a while. And that's just a couple of examples. There's a lot of other stuff to do in San Luis Obispo that are more like events, but that stuff is available pretty much all the time. Just take a day trip into downtown. It's 10 minutes away from campus. There's also, I recently, this past quarter, did a drive to Pinnacles National Park, which is, I think it was about an hour and a half away. But my roommates and I drove up there in the morning, hiked around for a while, and then drove back. It was so easy. And we're within driving distance of a lot of really cool different areas around. And as first years, you wouldn't be able to have cars on campus. But after that point, there's so much to explore in the area around Cal Poly.
Is there anyone that wants to add to that? Christine, please.
Cal Poly has a performing arts center that's a partnership between the university and San Luis Obispo. And they have the most amazing performances, an international slate, different every year. The ticket prices for students are great. And it's something that you can do that connects you to performing arts globally. It's really terrific.
And I have a question for Keith. What resources does Cal Poly have for underrepresented students?
Thanks for the question. I think we have a lot of fantastic resources for students who want to connect based on their identity. We have a whole department called Student Diversity and Belonging. That is the area that centers creating community based on identity. We have a Black Academic Excellence Center. We have a multicultural center, a Pride Center for LGBTQ students. We have a Men and Masculinity Center, a Gender Equity Center. We opening a Native American and Indigenous Peoples Center in the fall. And all of these programs work to create connection and community. They focus on student success and retention and helping students to maximize their individual leadership and purpose on campus, and really just create fantastic community. There are residential communities where students who want to connect by different aspects of identity can affiliate, as well as opportunities for students to connect with many different aspects of faith, spirituality, and meaning making outside of the classroom in the Cal Poly community. So a whole lot and growing in that area.
Great, thank you. So the next question, actually, I think it would be interesting to hear from alums on this one, because not only have they had the experience of being students, but they've since left Cal Poly and can probably have a broader perspective on this question. And that question is, and I want to start with Leilani and Kyle. What sets Cal Poly apart from other universities?
That's a tough question, Kenneth. No, I think in my experience, starting off a career in management consulting, which is a pretty competitive track, and I was working alongside folks from Ivy League, Harvard, Yale, UPenn, and to be completely honest, we landed at that same place, but I almost felt more prepared because we'd already had a lot of hands-on curriculum, and I mean that in group work and projects, as well as having a senior project where we directly were impacting the local San Luis Obispo community on projects that was impacting local businesses, or also Cal Poly as the university. And so I think that experience really set Cal Poly apart. And at least at the company I was at, they would go and recruit at Cal Poly because they knew the caliber of student and employee if you were a Cal Poly alum. So I think there's that reputation that Cal Poly holds, but also as an individual, I felt very much prepared, and kind of seeing the people around me that might have your traditional Ivy League degree, and we're still working together and still had a lot to bring to the table.
Thank you. Nicole? Oh, I'm sorry, Kyle.
I cut him off.
No, honestly, that was a very good answer. I think we should hear it from Nicole. It's all good.
Leilani took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, honestly, the only thing I can really add to that is just there's so many different types of opportunities at Cal Poly that I think prepared me for going into my first job and even afterwards. And yeah, it's just really, it's the experience you get in the classroom, it's talking with your professors, but it's also like joining those outside organizations. Sometimes when you're in it, you don't realize how much influence they have on you at the time. But for example, I didn't know I was going to go into a career in sales or even project management eventually. And I think by being in certain organizations, I really learned to like find my voice as a person and as a professional. And it gave me the confidence that when I went to go interview or I went to career fairs, I had time to process and understand and learn, like, I'm really skilled. I had 4 years of experience building up to this. I'm not brand new. I've gotten to do these things that they ask about in interviews and actually have really good examples of, examples of projects I've worked on that I could relate to. And I think employers really value that. It's one thing to be able to say, oh, I know this, but when you can talk to an experience that you've had and you can show something for it, I think that really sets Cal Poly students apart from most any other university.
Great, thank you. Now for my current students, I want to pose the question to you as well, because you've been most recently in the position of our accepted students. But I want to change it. I want to alter it just a little. What I would like to know is, what made you choose Cal Poly?
I'll start on this one, I guess. So this was a little bit of an interesting journey for me. I started off my college career. I applied to schools for theater arts. And so I had applied to a small liberal arts school in Texas that I had gotten into, and I was going to go there. And it was about 2,000 students. It was going to be liberal arts, and I was going to do theater. And I also applied to Cal Poly for theater. And I thought I wasn't going to get into Cal Poly. And then I did. And I was like, well, it doesn't matter because I'm going to go to this other school anyway. So like, whatever. And then my mom was like, oh, just take a tour. Please just take a tour. Like, just see if that's what you want. And my thought was, well, it's a liberal arts major. Like, why would I want to take it at a Polytechnic University when I could take it at a college of like a college for liberal arts? But then when I went on the tour of Cal Poly, I realized a couple of things. First of all, that pursuing a liberal arts major at a Polytechnic University is a really unique and really awesome experience that I would highly recommend. From the time that I was in the theater arts major, I so enjoyed it, and it was really, really special because applying learn by doing to liberal arts is so unique, and you can see that in so many of the different programs within the College of Liberal Arts. In my case, in theater, it was putting on productions. From day one, I walked in and I had done a lot of props work in high school for productions. And they said, we need an assistant props manager. And I said, I know how to do that as a fall quarter freshman. And they said, you're in, come and help us with this. And I was not expecting to be able to do that from day one. So first of all, there was that. Also, Cal Poly Liberal Arts is really, really amazing. A lot of our GEs are in the College of Liberal Arts. A lot of students have experience in the College of Liberal Arts. And it's something that really, I think, binds together a lot of the Cal Poly students is their experiences in our communications classes and our ethnic studies courses as well through liberal arts. But I also realized while I was on my tour that I didn't want to just meet liberal arts students. I wanted to meet architects, and I wanted to meet engineers, and I wanted to meet mathematicians and physicists and farmers and all of these different types of people that were at Cal Poly that I wouldn't have found at this other university I was considering. And I would have had awesome opportunities at this other university, no doubt. But I realized that I wanted to meet this just diversity, people with really diverse interests and passions. And you can see when you come to Cal Poly that people love what they do. Even if they're still figuring out what it is that they want to do, they love what they're pursuing. If you ask someone to tell you about their major, they will go off. Like, it's really, really cool. And I also, evidently, as you can see, I changed my major to plant sciences because I realized that that was something I wanted to pursue. I would have never realized that at that other university. That wouldn't have even been an opportunity for me. So what it ended up kind of being was wanting to meet people who were involved in things that I was never involved in, and then learning from them and learning about their passions. And obviously it has put me on a different track now. So I have no doubt that my college career would have been very different had I chosen to go to this other university. But every day I'm really, really glad that I made this decision because people love so many different things at Cal Poly. And liberal arts may bring us together, and we do have that awesome liberal arts program, but you can also meet people who have completely different interests from you and maybe even realize that you're really into something that you didn't even know before. So that was my why Cal Poly. I had that moment that I wanted to meet all those different people.
Thank you so much. I mean, I think you raise an important point, and I always say this to students when they're especially during the application stage, when they're like, oh, okay, what is Cal Poly is known for? Aren't you just good in engineering? And I'm like, no, we're good at everything. And you kind of speak to that. And I think that as somebody who was a liberal arts major, who went to a liberal arts school, I think that my own college experience would have been more well-rounded had I gone to a school like Cal Poly, to be around students who are excited and interested in engineering or get agriculture or architecture. I just think it's a really dynamic and exciting space. Bree, can you add to what made you choose Cal Poly?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason I chose Cal Poly, I was choosing between here and a few other UC schools, and the academics, kind of wherever I went, I was like, you know what, this is going to be great. But what really sold me on Cal Poly was the people. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but it's something you know instantly from the second you walk on campus. Everyone here is so kind and happy. And I think something that really sets Cal Poly and San Luis Obispo itself apart is that people are really well-rounded. You can be waiting in line in the coffee shop and have the most interesting conversation with the smartest software engineer or someone who just came from the agricultural fields. And students here are more than just students. They really are like well-rounded people. And I think that goes to show in the way that Cal Poly students are really here to help each other out. There's such a collaborative learning environment within academics here at Cal Poly. There is no cutthroat, I'm going to give you the wrong answers, I'm not going to help you out, I won't study with you. Everyone here just wants to see each other succeed. And I think that feeling of community and family and a support of over 22,000 people is unmatched anywhere else. So the people are the reason I chose Cal Poly, and they're absolutely the reason I stayed and will be so sad to leave. Along with the wonderful academics, and can't complain about the weather as it's currently 65 and sunny. So those are my reasons.
Great, thank you. So we're getting close to the end. I don't want to keep everyone too much over our allotted time, but I do want to pose this last question. And I would like for Christine, Kyle, and who didn't? Oh, and Keith to answer this question. And that was going to be, what advice would you give to admitted students at this particular moment in their career?
All right, let's give that one a go. Right now, let's see, you just got accepted to Cal Poly. I was deciding between a lot of different schools, and I ultimately decided upon, a place where I could spend time, that I would be motivated to learn, and that could hopefully, pay off for the amount of money that it costs to go to college. The nice thing about Cal Poly, it's like from outside, I always just say it's like basically a UC education for Cal State price, and it's on the beach. So when I was just like looking at things that way, it's like, it seems like a pretty good deal. And the fact that I got a job before even graduating and I'm doing what I do now, it was 100% worth it. So find a place where you feel confident that, yeah, this is I feel confident it's going to be worth the money, and I'm actually going to enjoy my time here.
I would add to that. I completely agree with Kyle. I would say to our students, first, choose Cal Poly, and then second, come ready to be open to new experiences, new ways of seeing the world, and finding out different pathways in your life that you didn't think were possible, because there's so much going on this campus.
Yeah, I would just chime in and say sometimes people stereotype polytechnic universities as having a certain, I don't know, limitation in how knowledge is approached, and you're not going to find that at Cal Poly. In fact, one of the things that is the most wonderful, and I think we heard about this from others, is that we really do admit a class of students that has all kinds of different interests and all kinds of different ideas about what to study and what their majors are. And when you mix them up together, you get an amazing community of students who are going to change the world. There's just a wonderful sense at Cal Poly that we are the change agents, and that our students are going to make a difference.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of our panelists for sharing your thoughts and insights today. And again, to our admitted students, congratulations. You've gotten this far, and it is no mistake that you ended up at this particular point. And I encourage you to continue to get to know Cal Poly. And you can always reach out to me. Well, first, before we get to that, you can always visit our website, a wealth of information there, virtual videos that are specific to your major. You can hear from professors, you can hear from students. So I definitely recommend investigating our website. You can always reach me. My email address, everything, the information is there. My phone number, 805-788-8634, and my email address, ktoliver@calpoly.edu. You can also sign up for a Calendly appointment. I'd be happy to answer your questions. So feel free to reach out. Let's see what else. Oh, important dates, a couple of important dates. So April 1st is our open house. I highly recommend signing for that. It is virtual, and it will give you the opportunity to get more specific specific questions answered from your majors, your departments, and you'll hear from students in your majors and departments. I highly recommend it. There will be more information about housing, basically everything you need to know. So I recommend that. And remember, May 1st is the deadline to let us know that of your intent to register. And May 7th is the housing application prefaces deadline. So there's a couple of deadlines coming up that I did want you to keep in mind. Always feel free to reach out. Again, thank you, everyone. And again, congratulations, and celebrate your acceptance to Cal Poly in grand style.